Boom, and we are live. At least I hope we are anyway. I'll just give it a moment just to double check to make sure the audio is working and all that kind of stuff. So welcome everybody, I hope you're well. There's a lot of people that were here ahead of the stream starts. I've been chatting along while I've been setting up, so thanks for dropping in, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching the vids and, you know, supporting the channel, all that kind of stuff. Now, it looks like we are all good to go. So it looks like I'm about 20 seconds ahead of the actual live chat here. So I'll just say hi to everybody. Greg, welcome. We got the Black Death 666. Welcome, mate, from Adelaide. Greg B from Geelong. Very cool. We got John. How are you, mate? Is it Teles? Is that how you Patil? Welcome, man. Amanda Coombs, how you doing? I saw Jamal here before as well. How you doing, mate? And Mike from Florida. Awesome stuff. Very cool. So we're going to take some questions tonight, hang out and have a chat, all that kind of stuff. So if you've been dying to ask any questions about gear or music or whatever, feel free to let me know and I'll give you some sort of reply. It might not be accurate, but I'll try my best. All right. So coming up this Friday, I've got a really itchy beard for some reason today. I don't know what's going on. Coming up this Friday, Rick's coming over and we're going to shoot the second part of, well, the trio version of the Keys to the Guitar Shop. So we did a 3-piece. So that part of that video will be up on this Saturday, hopefully, all being well. It's fun. This one's really cool. I got to test a whole lot of fun, really small amps. I think you guys will dig. Just a whole lot of really interesting things amp-wise from me, and Rick played all the fancy guitars and so forth. So yeah, we should be good to go. All right, 26 waiting already, yeah. We got Tony, how are you, mate? We got Siddharth, welcome, he's from India, how you doing? All right, cool. Yeah, it's been fun, you know, I've been playing a bit more again lately. I had a bit of time off from actual practice and my playing kind of sucked for a while there, but, you know, getting back into it 3 or 4 days of just actual practice makes the world of difference, you know. I think it's more of a mental thing too. As you start to get off the guitar, sometimes you just think you can't play, you know, if you're not doing it as much. So there's a bit of that going on as well. But yeah, I've been writing some new backing tracks. I've got some more videos coming up. Still just 2 a week right now. That's enough. And I'll get back into doing more amps and stuff at some point coming up pretty soon. We got Dave Escobar. Welcome, mate. He's from Colorado, USA. Very cool. We've got Dennis from... Oh, Dennis J. Paulson, sorry. How you doing? Hey, Bill's here. Welcome, mate. Thanks for joining in, guys. Appreciate it. Let me just scroll down here. Keys to the guitar store. Yeah, exactly. Pooninja, yeah. I heard the automatic translation tool doesn't work very well. Hey, Andy, thank you, mate. Have a Pepsi Max on me. Any experience with Bad Cat amps? I'm looking for the Cub, is that 4R? Is that how you say that? Forum say it has a great master volume, which I need at home. You know, a good friend of mine, Dom, who might be watching this, maybe, I'm not too sure. He actually has a couple of Bad Cat amps. One of them's 20 watts and one's 40 watts, and they're very simple on their front. They're just like volume, tone, and maybe a gain control or something, one of them. It's very, very simple. It may not even have a gain control. It might just be a master volume amplifier, actually, come to think of it. The 20 watt one, at least, anyway. And they're really, really good. I think they suit rock players more than they would suit, like, look, unless you're running pedals, but just as a straight up amp tone, to me, it's very rock and roll. So if you're into that, yeah, you'll definitely get a kick out of it. I don't think I've... Let me just Google this one for you. Bad Cat. Let me just have a quick look at this one. All right, so this particular one, I haven't actually played before, just looking at the photo of it, but they're pretty good. I always suggest, you know, if you do have a chance to go test it out, go do that, because you'll find that you'll know pretty much straight away. You know, don't always just listen to something and buy it if you don't have a chance to test it out first, because especially with amps are the most important part of the signal chain other than your hands. So hands and a good amp will get you a great tone. Look, thanks for the super chat, mate. I apologize for not having played that particular one, but you know, do your research, see if you can find other videos that showcase the kind of tones you're looking for as well. That's always a good sign. Timothy, how you doing? From Mississauga, Canada. I know I butchered that. Sorry, Canadians. How you doing, CJ? Welcome. We got Demetrius from Greece. We've got Joe McCarthy from Washington State. How you doing? Thanks for joining in. Crayon Guitars here. How you doing? Hey, Addicted to Gear. Thanks for replying to the email, mate. It came through real late at my time, but yeah, I just wanted to give you the heads up. He knows what I'm talking about. Poo Ninja, hello from the moon. That's where you are, mate. I got Jay from Germany, Canadian Lefty here. Greetings from Germany, Canadian. Oh, so you're a Canadian living in Germany. Very cool. Germany's beautiful. It's like, I couldn't believe how nice it was. I had no, you know, when you have no expectations of a place, I knew it'd be nice. I just didn't know it'd be that nice kind of thing. So it was very cool. VS Audio, welcome, mate. How you doing? I've got a couple of pedals on the queue from Greece right now. So yeah, I feel kind of spoilt. I'm not doing too many pedal videos on the channel, as you know, you've probably seen I don't do that many anymore. I just do the stuff that really interests me, and a lot of that stuff's out of Greece. So we've got VS Audio stuff, we've got some crazy tube circuit stuff. This will be over the next sort of 4 months. And also jam pedals sent out, something that should be pretty fun. I haven't tried them yet, but yeah, the Greeks, mate, they make the best, well, at least in my opinion, the best stuff in the world. Richard Guider, thank you, mate. I love the show. First live chat. Hey, thanks for the super chat, mate. Thank you. You guys don't have to do that. Yeah, thank you though. Thank you so much. I'll go. You know, if you follow me on Patreon or wherever, you know I reinvested into the channel, so it allows me to do cool stuff like this. So yeah, thank you. I'm always trying to up the production of the channel and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, mate, just at intheblues Richard, sorry, mate, I just lost the chat here. If you have any questions or whatever, just at intheblues, and I'll keep an eye on the chat. But thank you, guys. Thank you. All right, let me just scroll back up. We got Anjay's here as well. Bad Cat Amps Are Cool was playing the 2x12 100-watt head in the studio the other day. Very nice. Good to see you jamming again, mate. That's great. I know England's had horrible lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. Glass City Guitar says breakfast and In the Blues live stream. Yeah. Yeah, it was getting late here. I went to the gym this morning and I was like, man, I started to fade, so we're back on the Blue Vs. It works, man, I tell you what. Not sponsored, but wish I was sponsored. Hey, we got Dr. Rick's here as well. Selp, welcome, mate. 2 a week, that's enough. Yeah, exactly. I was just talking about our keys to the guitar shop video, the trio one. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm actually going to post a couple of short clips from it because there was some really great moments. So hang in there. Yeah, I'm going to get onto some of that probably tomorrow, actually. We've got Jack from Florida. How you doing? Sorry if I said hi twice. I'm just scrolling up and down here. Fat said he ordered a Mustang Micro. I think, are they those new little plug things? Yeah, look, Fender asked me if I wanted to review one of those. They said they'd send one out. I said no. And then they said, oh, that's fine. We'll send it anyway. And I said, I haven't replied to that email yet. But yeah, look, I don't know, man. If it works for you, go for it. But trying to review those kind of things can be a huge pain because there's so many options. So yeah, but good stuff. If it works for you, mate, go for it. I'm still yet to find a better practice amp than the Joyo. I know that's more of a headphones kind of deal, but I'm yet to find something I like more than the Joyo Jam Buddy and the new XBT Lite. They're still my two favorite practice amps. Mississauga. Ah, there we go, Timothy. Thanks, man. It reminded me of Mississippi, and there's another place that I can't think of that has almost the end of that there. Anyway, got snow in Kentucky. Far out, man. It's cold here tonight. It's like 8 degrees, so that's the coldest it's been for a while. Andre, is it Andre? Sorry, man, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. You do Royal Flush video. Do you have the straight flush? You sold me the VS Audio after the video. So the Royal Flush is awesome. I got 2 pedal boards. I have one of them on either. The straight flush is really good as well. It's just not a dual pedal. It's got a switch on there where you can add like more. You basically get the higher gain channel, but it's killer. Like, they make great playable pedals that just don't have a lot of controls on them or complex controls to get a good sound. Turn everything to 1 o'clock. It's going to sound great. There's a lot of guys actually in the chat here who have got them and can vouch for them as well. Alfonso says, "Hey Shane, are there any good Lefty guitars under $600 on Jerry's Lefty Guitars?" You know, I haven't checked his website for a few months. I think the problem with his website, you can't sort by price, or at least you never used to be able to. So I'm not too sure, mate. Good is kind of like subjective to what you like as well. So I'll need to take a look at that, but I'm not too sure, mate. Got a jet. All right, cool. Thanks, Quentin. Thanks for hanging out, man. All right, chat just flew by here. I've seen at least a dozen Mustang micro reviews this week. They're everywhere. Yeah, that's what happens, you know. The company, it's weird, you know. I think Fender picked their pre-release crew, like all the channels that are far bigger than mine, that will get a lot of that stuff way ahead of time, and then they release it all on the same day. I think a lot of companies just work like this anyway. And then there's like the second tier of YouTube channels, and I sort of fall into like the third, I think, with Fender. But anyway, it is what it is. It was nice of them to offer, but I'm not that interested in doing it. I kind of just pick the stuff that interests me a lot more these days. If I reply and they still send it out, it is what it is. I'll check it out, but yeah, I don't know. Ah, man, Stan Lee's says, I still love the Bass Breaker 15, just loud enough to play with the drummer. Those amps are so good. The 15 is awesome. That's really cool. Blent Ozcan says, "Hi, mate, did you add the Nordvang Gravity to your pedal board or just send it back?" No, I've got it on my board. I didn't charge, or I don't charge for my videos. It's actually gone. Well, that may change coming up to some extent if I don't get to hold on to stuff. And then, because I usually cover my costs by reselling things, but yeah, it's on this board right here. This is the board that I've got on the next Keys to the Guitar Shop video with Rick. And he got to use this as well, and that's it right there. So, let's try this. Is that better? Is that worse? Nordvang, Royal Flush. These two, mate. Woo! Awesome. Yeah, my combo of all time, before I got the Royal Flush, what I always used was a Tubescreamer and a Clon. That was my pedal board for a long, long time. And to have the Clon go into the Royal Flush, or, you know, just to get that Tubescreamer tone, it's pretty cool. Look, they're expensive, but they're not as expensive as something like buying a Clon Centaur, for example, or a Clon KTR and a high-end Tubescreamer is probably more expensive still. It wouldn't be by much, right? But you get something that actually works and sounds great. My biggest complaint of a lot of 2-in-1s that I've tried with the Clon and a Tubescreamer type pedal, they don't feel as good as the individual pedals on their own. So the crew from that made the Nordvang, what's the name of it? It is called the Nordvang, sorry, the Nordvang Gravity. The Gravity pedal. The folks that make that are doing it right. And it's simple. That's the thing. You don't have to, they didn't overcomplicate it. I'm pretty much getting rid of all the stuff that isn't instant gratification. If I can't turn it on and get a good sound and replicate it easily, I'm not holding on to it anymore, whether that's amps or whatever. It's just great being able to plug in and forget about all that stuff. C Fong, thanks mate. Have a good day. All right. Tonefish says, just found a used Fender Supersonic 22, trying to decide if it's really an upgrade from my Blackstar HD20R. Have you tried the Blackstar? Yeah, I don't really like Blackstar amps, personally. I always find them really heavily mid-scooped and not very musical for my kind of music. Like, but everyone plays different stuff. You know, if you ask a metal player if he likes a Fender Blues Deluxe, he's going to say no, right? So it all comes down to what you play. But the Blackstar amps that I've heard in the context of a mix haven't always cut through very well. They've always got lots of low end, no mids, and they're just a darker sort of tonality. Now, I've only heard a couple of them, so I could be completely wrong, right? So don't judge it just off that. But I haven't reviewed one. I haven't had a chance to play it myself. But that's my experience with, I think the 20 and the 40 were both very similar to each other. So the Fender Supersonic 22 is going to be very, very different to that. It's going to be, the drive channel on it's pretty cool. That's probably why you'd buy it, or you've got a Deluxe Reverb clean channel basically. So yeah, quite a different amp. If you can get a good deal on it, it's definitely worth giving it a shot. Have I heard of the Bad Cat amp, the Paw? No, I'm not much of a Bad Cat sort of, like, I don't know a lot about their model numbers and stuff. I've only heard my friend Dom's Bad Cat amps, and he gets a great sound out of his. So, yeah, actually, I've tried a few little, I think I tried a 15 once at a shop, and it sounded great, like a 15 watt one as well. But yeah, no reverb for me is a bit of a deal breaker. I just like having it, just in case. You prefer a pedal tuner? Yeah, always now. You know, the other week I was so out of tune and I had a clip-on tuner and it didn't work properly and I was getting really frustrated. I only had one pedal tuner, which isn't, I guess, like the end of the world. It was always like taking it off one board, putting it on the other. And then I just bit the bullet the other week and bought a TU3. That's the most current Boss one. So that I've got one on both boards now. I don't have to keep ripping them off. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with having a pedal tuner. Mutes your signal. It's visually very easy. You know, once you got your power supply plugged in, you just don't have flat batteries, you know. So yeah, I love my TU2 as well. I've had it for, I don't know, it has to be 10 or more years now. So Dave says, Shane, have you ever tried the old Peavey Mace or Deuce amps? So the Deuce ones, no is the quick answer, but I have heard the Deuce amps in a live, or Deuce I should say, amps in the live mix, and they are brutally loud. So my only experience with them is hearing them in a venue. But the Peavey Mace is not one I'm familiar with at all, mate. So no, I don't know much about that one. Yeah, if you can still find an old Peavey amp made in the US, or, you know, an old 90s made in China, Red Stripe Bandit, or any of those Transtube models, they're pretty rock solid. I really think they got them right back then. And those 2x12s, man, they're so, the Renown, I think it is as well, right? The Renown's another one that's brutally loud. If you can find one of them, they'll melt a Fender Twin. Just put it in front and it'll shatter it. Zach says, hi Shane, thoughts on the Citek Vixen booster into a Deluxe Reverb Tone Master? Looking for a pedal that will fatten up the mids on a clean tone. Do a slight overdrive. If not, any other pedals for the Tone Master? So actually, funny you mentioned that, Jack. Basically, I had a chance to play one of them recently live, the Deluxe Reverb, and I got it's very different to the Twin. Where I normally say with the Twin, the clean boosts don't really push the twin anywhere. You can kind of get away with it to some extent with the Deluxe Reverb because it's emulated to break up at a certain point, right? So you're going to get that kind of sound. But what I found worked really well was the Tubescreamer. I know that's a really boring answer, but I was using the left side of the Nordvang Gravity, which is like any other Tubescreamer out there. You know, you can get any type of one you can afford that's that kind of pedal. And it's really cool. Just run the master up if you want more volume, and you can turn the treble wherever you like. But in terms of that booster, which one? Sorry, hang on. The Vixen booster. I think my favorite one of theirs was the Nursey, I think it was called. I've still got it too. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I can't quite remember. The Vixen, I think, was maybe a 2-button or a 2-control one. Is that right? I'm getting confused. Sorry. I'll have to have a look. Yeah, it's the 2-button one. Yeah, I for me personally, I preferred the Nursey booster. I just had a look at my video. Came straight up in Google. Alexander, thank you, mate, for the super chat. He says, "Hey, in the blues, I've really gotten into the PR." Oh, sorry, the pre. I thought I was about to say PRS. Let me read this again. I've recently gotten into the 60s blues like Howlin' Wolf, etc. How did they get their sound? Tube amp or some type of compressor? So, tube amp turned up, and it's mostly volume control. A lot of that stuff isn't effects. You know, maybe they had some, but a lot of them didn't. You're talking about like Muddy Waters and all those guys. The Telecaster plugged into an amp. You know, Buddy Guy gets his sound by plugging into a Tweed amp most of the time. I mean, most of these guys, when they tour, they use different stuff. But generally, you'll find a lot of them were just playing at a lot louder volume to get the amp to sound like that. You know, Albert Collins, I know that's a bit more modern, but guys like that had the ability to turn a Fender Twin up on 10. Right? So it's going to sound great. But yeah, there weren't a lot of effects going on at that point in time, at least not to my knowledge. Like, I think a lot of guys were getting effects after the Hendrix thing. I think he was one of the guys that had some made for him. There might have been some before that as well, but from what I remember reading, it's something like that. So, yeah. Hey, thanks again for the super chat, mate. I appreciate it. And look, compressors probably weren't a thing in terms of stomp boxes back then. I think they were, you know, back in the pre-60s, it wasn't a lot of that. It'd be just amps loud. That would be my... You know, if you look up, say, what did Howlin' Wolf or... Oh, not Howlin' Wolf, but what did Muddy Waters, I meant to say, play? There'll be a post with all of his gear and, you know, his rig rundown kind of thing. So, yeah. All right. Sorry, where's the check? Oh, here we are. Wouldn't need a tuner pedal if you had Gibson robot tuners. Yeah, exactly. Man, jeez, who misses those? Has anyone in the chat actually got one of those? That'd be really interesting to find out. See if anyone out there actually likes those. I'm sure some people got some and they worked all right. They can't all be bad, I don't think. I keep looking at the Peterson Strobo Stomp. I don't know that one at all. Wampler Dual Fusion, great for blues. It's good. Like my friend Brian uses one of those and he loves it. It's a different sort of... It's not like... I wouldn't consider that a traditional blues sound. It's more of a modern blues sound. It's kind of a thick tone. And if you like that kind of thing, then you'll dig it. If you want something that's very... if you want a typical kind of lower gain, less or more transparent kind of blues tone where it doesn't change your amp tone a lot and just pushes you over the edge a little bit. It's probably not the pedal. It's the guy. Actually, I got a few friends that have got them, and yeah, they sound great when you get, you know, when you stack them up and throw some gain on them. But yeah, I wouldn't consider that to be like a typical or you know, a cliche kind of blues tone. It's leading towards, you know, fusion, which is what it's called. So yeah, you get great sustain out of it. It's a good fun pedal. You know, if you like what you hear from it, you can play any style of music with any pedal. So don't think you can't. I know guys that use them for blues. But again, they're not like they're a different sound to a Tubescreamer, which will probably be a good thing. Have I ever had the chance to try a Super Blues King 12? No, I haven't. I haven't tried any of those amps, man. I'd like to give them a shot at some point. I just don't see them anywhere in the city here. Just nowhere has them. USA Peavey Classic 30 for $3.99. Cool. Well, check out the new ones, man. A lot of people, you know, are a bit put off by... oh, that's the USA Peavey... Oh, sorry, you did say USA Peavey Classic for $3.99. Well, that's probably good. Yeah, a lot of people have a problem with Peavey moving their plant to China and then charging more for the same amp. Doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So, yeah. Oh, Jamal, thank you, mate. What are my thoughts on the 68 Custom Vibro Champ Reverb and the Custom Pro Reverb? I got really intrigued by the Pro and now those 68 Custom Fender amps. Sounds, sorry. This super chat is for is for after the jam. Thanks, mate. Hey, cheers, man. Thank you. You know, I've seen some of those videos and pictures go up, and you know what? I haven't actually listened to it yet, but what I love about what I've seen of... And let me just double check this one. Is this the... This is the brand new one, right? Like the one that just came out? So there's one that's got like a really cool... Hang on. Let me just double check. I think it's the Custom Pro Reverb that kind of intrigues me. That's the one that's got more... I'm going to borrow these, by the way, as soon as they come into the shop. I'm going to get them put aside. Sorry, just let me fire up a photo of this. It's going to make it a lot easier. Yeah, so the Fender 68 Custom Pro Reverb looks great. It's got a volume, treble, middle, bass, reverb, and the tremolo section. And there's also a bright switch on there as well. I think these look really great. Like, I think they're 40 watts, which means they're going to be plenty loud. I love the fact they got a creamback speaker in them as well. But I still, even though it looks like it's a Neo creamback, actually. Interesting. So it's going to be pretty light and loud, and hopefully it's going to sound great. I'm a big fan of, well, that kind of sound. So until as soon as I get a chance to play them, man, I will. I like the look of it already. I already spoke to the guys in the shop about it the other week, but I haven't actually listened to any of the review videos on it yet. So I'll do that after this, and I'll shoot you a message, mate. Thank you. Sorry that was just a horrible reply for your super chat. So I'll keep an eye out on the chat, mate, if you got any other questions. Thank you again, mate. I do appreciate it. Let me just scroll back up. 5150, 6L6, 50 watts for blue sound. Yeah. What do I think about poly versus nitro guitars? There's expensive poly guitars. Why do people keep thinking that nitro finish is better? But it's just, it makes no difference at the end of the day. Realistically, as one is less expensive to make, I think. But if more expensive guitars is still using it, then it doesn't, you know, it's like the wood debate. Like, is this better than this? It makes realistically not a lot of difference, right? So I wouldn't get too concerned with what people are saying about certain brands using certain finishes or whatever. Who cares? If the guitar's good, enjoy it, right? So, yeah, try not to let what you read put you off on something that you like. I really feel like, you know, I've played less expensive guitars with, you know, I think the Harley Benton finish feels very similar to some of the Fender guitars I've had over the years. So I don't know I know they're both Nitro actually, I think. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? You are paying for other things that make the guitar more expensive, but yeah. Jamal, again, mate, I apologize for not having my... I need to get into hearing a few of those review videos. Do I ever jam completely clean, or are there pedals that you always leave on? For example, reverbs or light overdrives. No, I play clean, absolutely. I prefer to leave reverb on the amp on, just because I can kind of respond off it a little bit, and it feels good to play. But that's about it, really. If I'm gonna, if I'm playing like a slow blues and there's a really quiet section, I'll switch off all the dirt pedals, or I'll leave one side of the Royal Flush on and then just turn down, or whatever overdrive I'm using on the night, right? And that's it, really. So yeah, it just depends on the song. Sometimes you need to play clean for rhythm. Sometimes you play in a funk groove and it just sounds better clean. But there's no right or wrong. But yeah, you'll see in the next video that I release with Rick, there's sections that are just the amp on clean because that suited the vibe of the song. So yeah, it just depends. Joy of Music says, is investing in a multi-effects better or... Hang on, let me try this again. Is investing in multi-effects better or buying individual pedals? I honestly feel like the best thing to do is buy and this is just... If we're talking about something that's like an 8-in-1 digital effects pedal versus individual overdrives and delays, I'll take the individual pedals. And even if one of those is a 2-in-1, for example, I still much prefer tangible controls. Tangible controls are always the best. If you ever aspire to play live and you take a multi-effects pedal out with you and you have to fix something, it's a nightmare. Now, they're not all bad, but a lot of them are, and some of them get really convoluted when you need to do something on the fly. And if something goes wrong, it's a lot harder to determine what that is if it's, if you have to menu dive. So in my experience now, I would never buy a really complicated live rig. Look, if you're playing at home and you're just doing stuff, if you want to do some home recording, then those all-in-one pedals are fantastic, but I wouldn't take them out and play with them live. And I've tried. They just don't replace an actual pedal board for me. There's just no way. And I feel the same about the Kemper. I had a Kemper. It was great for home use. I took it out and played it live, and it was hot. It was awful. It was just, if the PA system's not right, and if you need to fix something in the sound, you've got to go through the menus and to get stuff to work. So yeah, that's kind of how my approach now is, just to simplify everything. So I guess the quick answer, if you're playing at home, doesn't matter. If you aspire to play it live, then I would go for an effects that has a tangible control on it. And now it can be digital and still have analog controls. Like it can still have these type of controls, like the Strymon stuff or any other number of brands where this might be a digital pedal, and you can, as long as you've got controls, you can modify. If you have to go through menus and hit enter, and yeah, that's when the problems start. Fat Philosopher, welcome mate. He says, my latest guitar was a ESP. The neck pickup was set with the pickup at a high angle. The treble strings were super close to the pickup and the bass strings were far away. Any reason why? They're probably trying to get more brightness out of the humbucker and also tame the low end. Odds are if it's a modern humbucker, it's going to be pretty high output. So they're dropping the bass side down to try to get it to be clearer. And which also in turn means that they've tried to bring the neck pickup up on the treble side to enhance the high end. Now, there's no rule with that. You can adjust it however sounds good for you. But if you have the strings too close to a big magnet, you may have some issues. But yeah, just experiment around. Try to get it to where you think works. And if you want to kind of vintage sound a modern humbucker, just drop the whole thing down. It'll probably help you as well. Any recommendation for relatively inexpensive studio monitors? The ones that I've gotten, these were actually sent out a couple of years back now, these Adam Audio ones. I had a set of KRK Rocket 8s for, I don't know, 10 plus years, and they were really good. But these sound way more balanced. They're just, the bass response is easier to mix on. Just everything about these is a nicer mixing experience. I probably did 15 albums on my old studio monitors and countless guitar videos, and I always felt like I had to accommodate, or I had to learn how the low end responded on those speakers to get the most out of them. Whereas on these, they're very much more accurate. So yeah, these Adam Audio ones are good. A good friend of mine, Brian's also just bought the, well, this was a while back too now, probably 8 years ago or something. He's got the Behringer Truths, I think they're called, and he made some great recordings with those. So, yeah, I'd say from my experience, these Adam Audio ones are pretty good. Not because they've sent them out. If they were crap, I wouldn't have used them. I would have just boxed them up and sold them. But they've stood the test of time, so yeah. The Peavey Mace is what Skinner used in the 70s. Very cool, Jerry. Cheers, man. Let me just scroll down here. With David from Los Angeles. Welcome, mate. Refused to play in tune. No, that was from my tuner comment earlier. Far out. I must be a bit behind the stream here. The Metal Zone was it? Yeah, I saw that video, mate. I don't know if I commented on it. I might have seen it pretty late at night, but that was cool. Metal Zone, the greatest blues pedal of all time. How long should a set of frets last me? I play every day. They seem to only last 1.5 to 2 years. Well, if you're playing every day, they won't last long. I cut through my vintage frets on my 52 reissue Telecaster in a couple of years of playing every few days on it. So, yeah, when the time comes, if you love the guitar, get some stainless steel frets put in, and they'll never wear out. You'll be happy if you love the guitar. That is, if you don't, you gotta weigh up whether or not it's worth getting them replaced, price wise, right? Yeah, but I would say probably 2 years of solid playing would be close to where they wear out. You can do what Dr. Rick does and just buy another guitar. It saves you even changing strings. No, I'm only kidding. Evertune is sort of like a robot tuner. Oh, okay. I don't really know that. Autism Rocks, how are you guys? Hope you're doing well. Hey, we got Robert Baker's here as well. The Enabler has entered the chat. Dr. Rick's here too, or he was, Robert, so we can all pressure him to get something. Any more guitar store takeovers on the way? Yeah, we've got a couple coming up. We're putting them together for this Saturday, hopefully. So, or one this week and then one the following fortnight. Or 2 weeks if you live overseas, that is. Jerry says, Shane, I pulled the trigger on the Fender GTX 100 based mostly on your head-to-head versus the Katana. Thanks for doing that, mate. Now all you got to do is figure the thing out. Yeah, the good thing about it, though, you can kind of cheat the system with those amps. You can just, once you hook it up to their, what do you call it, like preset sharing thing, you can just, what do they call it? I've forgotten what they call it, but you can just download presets. It's nice and simple. All right, Mr. Bogut is getting banned. Woo, easy. Let's do it. Man, I don't know why people spam the chat. That minute of attention to just get banned. It's like good stuff. Done. Thanks, moderators. I appreciate your help. KRK have become lower quality fashion items due to popularity with electronic artists. Atoms are in a different league. Well, there you go. Well, thanks for that, Dr. Nerd. You know, it's not something that I go out and buy regularly. I literally buy a set of studio monitors to last as long as I can. And at the time I purchased mine, it must have been 12 years ago. Maybe longer. I you know what? I can't even remember. I've probably had them a lot longer than I think they are. They could be way older than that. The KRKs are still going strong in my other room, right? So they're still great. I don't want to get rid of them, but they're clearly not as good as the Adam Audios for mixing in my, at least with my ear. Oh wow! Thank you, Bill. What are you doing, man? Thanks, Shane, for all you do. You and Dr. Rick are the best, and the entire in the blues community is awesome. Thank you, mate. Thanks. I don't know what to say, mate, but Rick's coming over Friday, so he's going to get some free dinner. 2 cans of Pepsi Max coming to Dr. Rick. No, thank you, Bill. Far out, man. Thank you. Cheers. Oh, man. You know, the whole super chat sort of tipping thing isn't a thing in Australia. Like, in Australia, we don't really tip. It's just it's a different mentality here, I guess. So for me, it's still weird to see these come in. I don't even remember. I just don't think about it until they pop up. So thank you, Bill. Thank you, guys. Thanks everyone who has supported the chat. Jamal, I still owe you a better answer, so hang in there, mate. Far out. Thank you. Cheers. We're gonna have to send you something, Bill. We'll come up with something. Hang in there. Richard Bernhardt. Oh, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. He says, have the full tone, full drive 2 MOSFET OD pedal. I don't hear much about them with YouTube players or pros. Do you have any experience with it? I've had experience with the full tone, full drive. Let me just double check. I think, from what I remember, let me just see if I've... Ah, you know what? Yeah, what other pedals? Full tone. I had one of their other pedals, the full tone Plimsoll. I remember, that's right. So, short answer is no, but I really wanted to try one of those when they first came out because they looked great, and I ended up buying the Plimsoll because I couldn't get my hands on that one. So no is the quick answer, but you know, if it sounds great still, go for it. There's nothing wrong with full tone gear. I think they make really good stuff. This is from You Can't Kill Metal, I think it is. Any advice on how to get over gear acquisition syndrome? So yeah, Dr. Rick always says the best thing to improve your tone is practice, and he's right. So, you know, you got to sort of think about, like, I'm really bad when it comes to, I used to be bad when it came to electric guitars and amps, but I'm not anymore. I'm happy with what I've got, and I review stuff that I mostly take back to the shop, so it makes it pretty easy for me not to, you know, I get my fix by proxy almost. I don't even get to keep it, but I get to try stuff, and that's fun for me. I don't really want to stockpile stuff. It's about knowing that what I've come to realize is the tone that I love, I can get out of all of my gear. I can get it out of the Fender amps, the Artist amp, and the Marshall. That's all slightly different, but I can get what I perceive to be my tone out of them, and it works really well with the gear that I've got. And if you haven't gotten to the point where you know what sound you're looking for, then it's really easy to keep buying stuff to find it. And I did that for a long time too. Even prior to YouTube, I was buying and selling a lot of amps, and even in the early days, I wasn't really reviewing all the stuff I was buying and selling. I was just like, oh, maybe this is the amp, you know? So you got to go through a bit of that, but you'll probably find that the best thing to improve your sound is playing. Practice. Find the music that inspires you to play and work at it. There's more to it than the gear. And I even feel like that when it comes to camera equipment, because at the moment, that's like my Achilles heel. I'm always watching the tech videos, finding out what new camera's coming out. And, you know, I always think, well, why am I looking at this? I could improve my video quality by investing in knowledge about how to light the room better, or how to set up the tripod at a more interesting angle, or how to put a light back behind me that makes it look a little bit better. So there's things I could do that would greatly enhance it. Now, if I didn't have lighting and I just grabbed a new camera and set it up, it would look crap. It wouldn't matter, right? So yeah, learn to love the stuff you've got. And another way that also you can get over it, in my experience with it, is to buy something that you know will stand the test of time. If you don't plan on quitting, get a guitar you aspire to buy sooner than later, rather than 5 stepping stone guitars to get the one that you actually want. Because that'll encourage you to play more, and you'll know you already got the best guitar that you can afford at that particular time. So there we go. Yeah, Jamal, I don't get it either, man. I didn't read all of the you guys have blocked the chats and stuff. So thank you, mate. I appreciate your help. Oh, here we go. My urban exploration, another super chat. Thank you, mate. I'll get to all the non-super chat questions as well. Hang in there. They expire, which is why I go to them first as well. He says, hey, if you could go back in time to play with a band, act at a historical gig, what would the band or act be, and which gig? Ooh, man. Ooh, that's a good question, man. Oh wow, yeah. You know what who I'd love to jam with? This might be a bit of but I know I'm not. There's so many of these. I could throw in so many of these questions, but I don't know the songs, right? So if we're talking pretty much blues, Tommy Castro's got this killer live at the Fillmore show that he did maybe 20 years ago, and that live show is so good, and it's mostly blues, and it'd be great fun to sort of, I've jammed along to that for years. And Eric Clapton live at Hyde Park I played a lot too as well. That was another great live show. But I'd love to play if I had to really pick one, it would probably be something like Albert King. He's got a live session he did in 1979, which was I think right before I was born actually. So yeah, that would be I'd love to jam with guys like that. But yeah, it's hard, man. It's really hard to pinpoint it because there's so many influences. Like, you know, one of my first thoughts was Mark Knopfler's Dire Straits on the Night. I love that as well. That would have been fun to play, but I don't know the songs. That would be one for Rick. But yeah, that would. I would probably say the first thing that comes to mind is Tommy Castro live at the Fillmore. It is really great. So that would be high on my list. Absolutely. DLMC, and thank you again, Exploration, for the super chat, mate. Thank you. How do I get rid of guitar amp hum on your mixes? What would you recommend? The American Strat with a noiseless pickup. All right, so first part of the question is, how do I get rid of guitar and amp hum from your mixes? There isn't a process for that. It's just like mic it up and play. Anytime I'm talking on a section of my videos or recordings, I turn my guitar down. This is a habit I've got from recording, that anytime I speak, my volume control's off. And that's something I've learned over the years to save me having to do that in post. And again, anytime I'm playing, my voice audio is off. So I've got that shirt mic on normally, or if I use a shotgun, then I'm muting that. So there's no noise gates or anything. I don't use any of that. It's just a good sounding room in here. It doesn't have any hum, or it doesn't have any excessive hum. Even with the heater on, it's pretty good. I would say turn off any LED lights as well. I have an LED strip over here, down here on this thing. If that's on, I get really bad noise. So yeah, just look at what else is plugged in and try to eliminate it that way. I don't have any problems really at this place with any of that noise. Nor do we do it at when we do the live sessions either. It's just like we get good sound. It's just power supplies make a big difference as well. If you get a lot of buzz, it's usually a bad power supply. It's more fun to talk Rick into gear that he needs. Yeah, he's got the gas for another guitar. It's called a Cower guitar. It's crazy. Hey, we've got Landon here. Welcome, mate. Yeah, Stan was talking about the multi-effects. It says exactly the only problem is if you want to change tones on the fly while playing live. And that's the biggest sort of Achilles heel of a lot of that stuff. You know, another live show that just came to mind is Van Morrison live in San Francisco. You know, if I knew a lot of those songs, that would be a great show to be in, because he's got John Lee Hooker, he's got Jimmy Witherspoon, a whole lot of blues dudes in that live show, and that's a pretty special live show overall. A lot of soul. You know, a lot of people think Van Morrison's is sort of like just one style of music. Go have a listen to that; it's really cool. I just bought this from Duke Neutron. He says, I just bought an Epiphone 1959 Les Paul Standard. Very cool. Outfit from Long and McQuaid, and they ruined your guitar. What? It was shipped bare in the box. No case, none of the candy. Oh, man. Wow, that's not cool, man. That's Canada's kind of like Guitar Center. Is that right? Long and McQuaid, or is Long and McQuaid the like are they like a Guitar Center in the US? There's a couple of brands, a couple of chains I always forget the name of, but either way, that sucks. Sorry to hear that, mate. Hopefully you can take it back or have it returned or refunded or something. That's horrible. It sounds like what happened to me with I wasn't in the same predicament whatsoever, but I got a return guitar sent to me for a review, and it was a mess. It had a cracked headstock, and it was just a nightmare. If I had paid for that and had it turn up in that condition, I would have been peeved. But sorry to hear that, mate. That's terrible. Oh yeah, so NJ says, have you got the Albert King SRV session album? Yeah, that's one of my favorites of all time. That would be definitely up there on the list of. I'd be happy sitting back playing chunk of rhythm guitar all night on that. That'd be great. Someone asked me about the. Oh, that's all right. Sorry, I've lost the question about a guitar. I got asked about a guitar before. I don't mean to miss these questions, so if I do, just add in the blues me and try a second time. I'll get to it. Is the Electro Harmonix Crayon and Overdrive a good pedal? You know, I don't know that one. Let me have a look here. Crayon full range Overdrive. You know, yeah, it's not one that I'm as familiar with. I've only tried a handful of theirs, and that's not one of them. So, my only criticism of Electro Harmonix, I've said this a million times, and I've owned a few of their pedals, the build quality is not great. You're paying sometimes a premium price for something that isn't built that well compared to a lot of other pedals. But if it is built okay and it sounds good, or if it's in your budget, then just go for it. Hey, Mark, thanks, man. He says the little Vailton I got from me is cool, mate. Touch noisy, but easy to fix. Very cool. Hey, no worries, man. Yeah, that reverb circuit, I think, was always a little bit like once you crank it up, you can hear some weird sort of noise in there. But, yeah, great. I haven't used it for probably 2 years, so I'm glad it's gone to a good home, mate. That's awesome. Thank you again for the support. I play with Bono. I love that sound. Great comparison. Yeah, Bono's great, man. Like, I love you too. Rattle and Hum's arguably one of my favorite live shows / albums / music video things of all time. I mean, him and BB King, man, that was epic. That's when he was singing at his best. You know, Bono, it was great. Hey, thanks again, Bill. Take care, man. Thanks again for the support and super chat, mate. And I'll catch you on the next one. I'm definitely going to be shouting Rick some dins this Friday. So what are we? Wednesday, 2 days away. Let me scroll down. Long and McQuaid is the biggest chain in Canada. Ah, that's right. Cool. There's another one I always see when I'm in the US. It's not Guitar Center. It's something else. Sam Ash? Maybe that's it. Slush Puppy says, looking to upgrade my amp, Vox VT40X modeling. Now tired of fiddling with all the options. Want to get a valve for small gig usage with pedals, versatile bluesy suggestions. So if you want a small amp that's kind of loud, try the Vox AC10. Get something like a Blues Junior. And depending on where you are, like look into the Artist amplifiers, the Artist Tweed Tone 20. The more I play that amp, the more fun I have with it. It's great. You can use it without pedals or you can use it with pedals on the clean channel. So there's plenty of good options out there. But yeah, get something without all that fancy, effects. Just plug into an amp and maybe run an overdrive or something and you'll love it. Princeton's are a great choice too. They're something that you should definitely look into if you like the Fender clean and want something kind of small. Let me scroll down. Oh, there goes the chat. When love comes to town. Yeah, totally. That live version is just so good. Looks like a lot of people know that tune. That's awesome. I have a monoprice stage right, 15 watt on the way. Thoughts on it? That's from Billing Tango. Billing is it? Billing Tano? I've got that wrong probably, but we don't get monoprice in Australia. It's like an American or North American brand that I think sold off Amazon or something like that. We don't get it here. I know people that have bought it from the US and they got the US power supply, so it was useless. So yeah, I haven't tried one, mate. They look like they're probably a good little fun practice amp for beginners. I don't know if they'll be loud enough to sort of get out there and make a bit of noise jamming wise with, but yeah, I haven't tried them, man, but from what I've seen, they look okay. What's my favorite YouTube channels? Well, surprisingly, like most of them aren't guitar channels. Like I'll watch guitar channels, but I watch very specific ones. I like Valuetainment is one that I really like. I like Camera Conspiracies. Yeah, I'm subscribed to a lot of guitar channels, but the ones that I really like are different. They're like the other part of my brain now. I like a lot of the camera channels, like DP Reviews, another good one. Red Letter Media has been one of my favorites. Cinemassacre for years and years and years. Both of those channels are probably two of my favorites of all time. I like some of the podcast channels as well. Man, yeah, I've got a lot of subscriptions, man. Woo, there must be 300 of them, I reckon. And I probably only watch, maybe the top 30 on some sort of regularity. But yeah, that would be, I think of all time, Red Letter Media and Cinemassacre would be two of my favorites of all time. Yeah, for fun, just for fun. If I want to get knowledge of it, I'll watch something else. I don't think I've got one favorite. It's because there's so many different niches, like the camera channels is one, the guitar channels would be another one, the just comedy channels would be another one, the podcasts would be in another sort of category as well. So yeah, read that the Stage Right amp is a Laney copy. Oh, okay. I don't know. I think, I don't know what sort of happened to Laney over the last sort of 10 years. They kind of like disappeared. I don't see them hardly anywhere. I think I've seen them in one music store. And they're, for whatever reason, the only amps I've seen have been smaller ones that look like they probably could be rebranded. Or they might rebrand them out to other brands or repackage them or whatever. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Laney. They kind of disappeared, at least in Australia, over the last... Man, it's been a long time. We used to see, like, their VC30s and stuff, like they're kind of like a Vox copy amps. I actually owned one of them for a couple of weeks. I say a couple of weeks because it wasn't great. I'm not too sure what Laney... Yeah, they got some good amps, but I'm not really sure what their sound is. Like you talk about boogies, or you talk about, you know, your Fender tones or your Vox tones. They've all got a very iconic. You instantly know what they sound like. To me, like Laney is kind of like a poor man's Vox in some ways. You know, like they're kind of the same amp. At least with the AC 30 that I had from Vox and the VC 30 that I had from Laney, it was clearly going for the same kind of thing. So yeah, I haven't seen much of them lately. I mean, they're cool amps, but yeah, I just don't know much about them anymore. Camera conspiracies. Yeah, that's right. Great Vanzini. Check him out. I love the camera channels. Gerald Undun's another one that I really love. His channel is more for when I want to learn about something and nerd out. DP Reviews, another really great one for camera tutorials. Those guys are fantastic. I actually spoke to one of the guys off there a couple of weeks back, and he was an awesome guy. Yeah, and Gerald actually was on our big non-disclosed paid promotion video because he's in the tech niche, and it was great to have someone else on board with that. But yeah, man, I watch everything. My interests are all over. Actually, I've been watching a lot of old 80s movie review channels as well, like horror movie stuff from when I was younger, watching all that stuff. And it's fun to sort of revisit a lot of that for whatever reason. So, yeah. Is it Jack? Zimney says, favorite Tubescreamer. Recently moved to electric guitar from acoustic. So much gear. yeah, there is. Thanks for all your answers. So, thanks, mate. Look, when it comes to my favorite Tubescreamer is split into a few. My favorite budget one, if we're going to go like from Kalen make one and Joyo make one called the Vintage Overdrive. Behringer also make one called a TO800. So they're kind of like the three that I would go for if you're looking to spend less than $50. The Kalen stuff, it's called like the Snake something or whatever it's called. It's green anyway, right? So it's that kind of pedal. My favorites though would be like in terms of all of the ones I've tried, the Maxon Overdrive Pro. The only downside of it is it's as big as this, right? So it's huge, but it looks great. It's part of this same series. It was actually on this board before I put the Nordvang on there. It's pretty hard to go past the Overdrive Pro, the one that I just mentioned, the OD820. There's also one called an Apex 808, which is slightly more expensive, but it does sound different. Rick and I are going to actually put together a massive video of all the different Tubescreamers, but yeah, the Ibanez make good ones as well. I've had one of those in the past, but if you're just getting into it, you want a good one, the Overdrive Pro is hard to go past, as well as even the bog standard Maxon OD820. Now I'm saying Maxon and not Ibanez because Ibanez pedals are rebranded Maxon pedals. So there's that. A lot of people think Ibanez created that circuit. They created the Tubescreamer household name, but they didn't actually make the circuit. So yeah, look, there's a million of them out there, right? You can buy any number of brands that are doing that exact same thing. You know, Shally make another one that's called the Odie, O-D-I-E. I'll type it in because it's too hard to... And these are great because they're affordable. They're like $100 US, which is considered affordable for a handmade pedal in the US. I'm not affiliated with them at all, other than I've reviewed a few of his pedals, and they're great. So, yeah, that would be another one that I would look towards using. But there's so many good ones. Like, you know, even there's an Australian. Yeah, man, it's a video within itself. Hang in there. But the Maxon Overdrive Pro or the Apex 808 currently are my two favorite traditional style Tubescreamers. I'm loving the Tubescreamer and the Nordvang, but that's expensive. Sorry, excuse me. That whole Rattle and Hum album is probably underrated. Nearly every track is a classic. I feel the same thing about it. It's really like the band at their best. It was so good. So, yeah, I listen to that album a lot. I'm a big fan. It's got a lot of soul. You know, anytime like when Love Comes to Town is great. Angel of Harlem. It's just got a great horn section sound to it. You know, and then they've got the gospel track on there as well. That actual church gospel version of Haven't Found What I'm Looking For is epic. Hey, Izzy Blues, thank you, mate. Do we have any more background info on the Slate Grey Deluxe Reverb? I recently bought one, but there's no info about this amp anywhere. Even on the Fender website, apparently 100 are made. Mate, congratulations. I was so close to buying that. That's arguably the best sounding Deluxe Reverb I'd ever play. I've ever played, I should say. It's got that Redback Celestion speaker in there, which is awesome. You know, when I first saw that limited edition one, I thought to myself, oh, these will be around for a while. I never saw another one. I should have got it. It was really nice. So they're basically identical to traditional 65 Deluxe reissue, minus the speaker and minus the Tolex. For whatever reason, I would never have thought a Celestion Redback would be the best speaker in a Deluxe Reverb that I'd have played, and it is. It's really, really great. It's arguably as good as the best Jensens you'll find or whatever, right? So, you know, I have a speaker website where I recommend like speakers for amplifiers based on my experience playing limited edition ones and changing out speakers. And that's one of the first speakers I recommended because it's just so good in that amp. It makes it louder and cleaner. You get a bit more headroom. It makes it a bit heavier, but it's a good trade-off. So there's no real extra info on it other than Australia get limited runs of amps that are different to other parts of the world. I didn't know that either. So what you might be able to find in certain parts of the US or Canada or Europe or whatever will vary to what we get. Or some part of the world might get some of those and not others. I know at the moment what we're getting here is Fender Blues Juniors with Eminent Swamp Thing speakers, which is pretty cool. So that might be one for the testing video coming up pretty soon. But that's a great amp, man. Like, yeah, I'm happy for you. Like, it's, yeah, if there's only 100 made, the thing with those FSR amps, the Fender Special Runs, you won't get info on them after they're gone. You'll just have to use the Wayback Machine and find it on the website that you bought it off to get any, you know, additional information off there. But they're essentially the same, other than the speaker and the Tolex, and maybe the slipcase might be a different color. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, great amp, man. Wow, very cool. Is the Marshall Code 50 good enough for gigging? Look, I wouldn't really take that out to a gig unless I knew exactly what I was doing with it. It's the same thing with a lot of digital modeling amps. You know, if something's not right, you've got to go menu diving. So, look, while you can play live with it, it might not be as practical as a traditional style amp or even a Katana on clean. So one of the things I wanted to showcase with some of these digital amps was how they worked with pedals, you know, basically with the amplifier clean. And that's what's coming up on the next Keys to the Guitar Shop. But yeah, I don't know if I'd really go out and buy one of them with the intention of wanting to play live. It's probably not the best choice. But it'll be loud. It'll be loud enough. Toman's Harley Benton Tubescreamer for $20. Oh, there you go. Cool. That's probably, if I'm not wrong, it's most likely a Joyo copy. They rebrand those pedals. Chopper says he has a JHS Bonsai, has 9 versions of Tubescreamer circuits. They're very cool. They are very cool pedals. Is that enough? Yeah, super cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've probably got 3 Tubescreamers right here. Here we go. Got it's just gonna let me do this. Oh, this way. There we go. So that's the Maxon Odie 808, which is basically like the standard Tubescreamer style one. That's the Apex 808, And if you talk to some people, no one can hear a difference. And if you talk to others, they'll say this has a bigger, fuller sound. And after testing it with Dr. Rick, as well as just on my own with all the other ones that I've got, there's a clear difference. It's got a bigger sound. It's got a more cleaner sound, or more higher headroom. And then that's the one I was talking about before. This comes in two different colors. There's this one, and I think, what color's this? It's hard with these colored lights in here. It's hard to tell, but that's the Odie from Shelly. These guys make great stuff. Yeah, it's actually got a couple of extra switches on there, so you can change the clipping type over here. It also gives you a mid boost and a low boost as well, or a flat. So yeah, but you know, it's hard to go past this. That's a good starting point. Anything based on this circuit is pretty wild. But thank you again, Easy Blues, for the super chat, mate. Thank you, and yeah, enjoy your amp. That's killer. Let me scroll back up. Which is the best sounding small amp? I need more information, mate. Small size-wise, or small watts-wise? Or speaker-wise, or I'm not sure what you mean. Let me scroll down. Where did the chat go? Hang on. Oh, here we are. Sing me a song. Nah, you don't want to hear my singing voice at 11:41 p.m. Or at all, normally. So, what's my take on the Yamaha THR32? Yeah, I'm not overly into those amps, to be honest, man. So I'm probably not the right guy to be asking. I wasn't overly interested in the last one. It's just, you know, I'm getting out of the whole digital realm when it comes to playing guitar. Unless it's a benefit for myself when it comes to recording. Yeah, I don't know, man. Look, it all comes down to what works for you, but I don't know anything about that particular... Oh, hang on a sec. Sorry, Yamaha make good... I actually like these little amps. Hang on, let me just double check. Sorry, I'm thinking it was a... I'm getting them confused in my head. Yeah, all right. So they're overpriced, but they're good. So I was thinking of a completely different brand, but yeah, look, I haven't tried one, mate. I tried one of the older versions and it sounded pretty good, but the same thing, I thought they were overpriced. In Australia, they're pretty expensive amplifiers. Sorry, I had completely the wrong brand in my mind. I saw a video where you were talking only positive about the Marshall Origin 5C. Was it true, or the sponsorship talking? Nah, you watched the wrong video, man. I was really critical of the one on mine, especially when I compared it to the Bugera V5 Infinium, which was about half the price, and the Bugera killed it. So sometimes when I demo something, I leave it up to the audience to make up their mind, and other times I'm reviewing something where I give you my opinion on it. There was no sponsorship. I don't get paid from Marshall to make those videos. Nor did I get to keep the amplifier. It was on loan. I had it for a day or two. I shot a few videos, and I've said multiple times that's arguably one of my least favorite 5-watt amps ever. This is just horrible. So yeah, you might be watching the wrong video, man. Hey Zach, thanks, man. Or Jack, sorry. I only want 2/3 pedals. Don't mind the price. I only want two out of 3 pedals, so don't mind the price. Okay, cool. Is that what you mean? Sorry, man, I'm not sure exactly what. Let me just I only want 2/3 pedals, don't mind the price. Was that in relation to the Tubescreamer conversation? Sorry, it gets hard to keep track of stuff. If you're going to ask a question on Super Chat, just put it in context if you can, so I'm not getting confused here. Sorry, man. Let me just scroll up for a sec. Oh man, yeah, it's you can't really search the live chat. So anyway, mate, thank you for the super chat. Sorry, I'm not exactly sure what that is in relation to. I think that was for the Tubescreamer thing, right? Anjay says, how's the drumming going? Mate, I sold mine right as lockdown finished. It was a lockdown thing for me. I had them for a few months. Got to record some tracks and some videos with it and then flipped it, and now I use GarageBand, and it's so much better than my crappy drumming. But I love playing drums. Can you count the artist Tele as a true Tele given its pickups? I have my eye on the 70s Deluxe or artist one. Look, the Teles come with all different kinds of pickups, and they always have. Look at Albert Collins, you know, he's got a humbucker in his, and a lot of the ones in the 70s, like the thin lines, all had humbuckers. So, and not all thin lines did, but a lot of them did. You could also get single coil ones as well. So the Tele thing is more about the shape, you know, and the body design and the two pickup thing as well. So yeah, that might not be considered like a traditional 50s Tele, but nothing wrong with a Telecaster with some humbuckers, not at all. All right, wrap this up in about 15 minutes. I'm starting to crash and burn over here. I'm getting tired. You are getting those echoes when you plonk those pedals on your disc. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's going through the mic. There's a boom arm right here that's a crap one, so it's probably picking up all this noise of the pedals. I can hear the springs vibrating actually, so that's not good. Have I tried? Oh, man. Chat. I haven't read the start of that. Oh, have I tried the Boss Waza Air amp headphones? I have. So yeah, I did a video on that. Again, it's sort of like a luxury purchase in a way. I guess if you live in an apartment, it could be a good investment if you don't own any amplifiers. But yeah, I didn't really like the whole thing swirling around in my head. It didn't feel very natural at all, so I'd prefer to have that off and just give me the straight up stereo sound. So for those who don't know what it is, they kind of emulate you in a room with an amp either behind you or in front of you, so as you turn it kind of moves, but the gyro wasn't perfect in there, the gyro data, so I had to turn sort of slightly sideways to make it sound even. I think they're pretty expensive. I personally wouldn't buy one. Check out my video. I do have one. Just type in Waza headphones in the blues. It should come up. Chris says, hello Shane, greetings from Sheffield. Have you tried the Duesenbergs? Do you think they're overpriced? I actually think they're great. You know, one of my favorite Lefty guitars I've ever played is a TV Star Player, which was a great Duesenberg and a Lefty at Jerry's Lefty guitars. They're a unique sort of guitar. They're very different visually. They've got elements of other things you've probably seen, but I really like what they do. They are expensive, but they're quality guitars as well. Unless something's changed where they're maybe manufactured differently now or something like that. This was years ago when I first tried them. I really like visually what they're all about. They feel good and they sound good. They use good pickups, and their tremolo system's probably the best tremolo system on any guitar. But you've got to love this is another one of those guitars, if you buy it, to resell it again, you won't get your money back even close. So you've got to really want to buy it to get it. It's kind of like Music Man. Make great guitars, but the resale value is just terrible on them. Duesenbergs are probably along the same lines, but I see them around and I think they're really quite nice. They've got a few that are a little bit too like over blingy. They've got weird patterns and stuff on them, but yeah, the TV Star Player one was awesome. What's your take on being in cover bands? How do you handle the songs? Play them exact or sound different? Well, it's up to you, man. Like, if you're in a traditional cover band where the crowd anticipate you're going to play the songs they know the way that they know it, then you're going to have to learn them that way. I've never really been in a band like that. I've tried playing cover band gigs for New Year's Eves here and there. This is a long time ago now, and it wasn't really for me. I don't get any enjoyment out of that. You know, some people love playing other people's music, or learning the solo note for note, and then they'll play that only solo every time they play the song, and that to me is not a lot of fun. Like you look at Knopfler, right? Even though he wrote Sultans of Swing, you watch 10 of his live shows and he'll come back to the parts that are the hook of those solos, but he's always playing something else. So, yeah, I kind of feel like replicating something note for note all the time isn't really, it's not really worth it unless you're in a cover band where that's required. And it's a good skill to learn songs, by the way, so don't take that the wrong way. It's just, for me, like if I'm going to do a cover song or something, I'll do it a completely different way, or close enough that it kind of works. But I don't do a lot of cover stuff in the traditional sense, like pop songs and that. With blues, you got a wider liberty of, you know, of ways you could do it. If I want to reduce my action, should I adjust the truss rod or shave down the nut bridge? Start by looking at this part. I don't know what kind of guitar it is, right? But it could be just as simple as bringing the saddles down, right? So these are on screws that you can then, so yeah, you can bring these down, right? Depending on the bridge. If you've got a tunematic bridge like on a Gibson, there's two little screws that, two little sort of nut things that you can turn, and it brings this up and down, right? So yeah, start there. That would be my suggestion. If you don't know what you're doing at all, take it into someone to have a look at, because yeah, it may not have any issue other than the neck needs a quarter turn, and that will be about it. So if you're going to use the truss rod, just do a quarter of a turn and wait and see what happens, and leave the strings on as well. Hey, Steve from Boston's here. Welcome, mate. How you going? Hope you're doing well. Hey, we've got Dwight Bailey here as well. How you doing? All right, we've got about 9 minutes left. If anyone has any questions here, let us know. Oh, sorry, Zach. Let me just scroll. Oh, man, every time. Where is it? Hang on. I just want to reply to this. It was for the Tubescreamer amount. I don't mind how much money they cost because I don't plan on having 50 pedals. Okay, cool. All right. So, look, either get this one, the OD808. It's a good stock standard overdrive, or the OD820. The 820 is kind of like my favorite in amongst with this one as well. This one's really cool. All about guitars. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. He says, have you found the Epiphone Wilshire suggested a few months ago? I haven't, man. It's not a guitar that I've seen in a Lefty anywhere. And I don't even know if they make a Lefty in this one. I wanted to see next time if we get... I'm pretty sure Sky Music may have a couple of righties of these. Yeah, they may actually have a red one of these. I've just got to double check. Look, on the next recording we do when we're playing, we're grabbing stuff off the wall. I'll see if I can wrangle Rick into asking him to see if how many Epiphones we can do at a time, and we'll definitely throw that in, mate. Sorry, we haven't done a whole lot of those sessions, so we kind of just go by what we see on the night. And yeah, let me make a note of that so I don't forget. I'll see if I can. I'll put it in my little thing over here. Done. All right, so hey, thanks for the support, mate. We'll get around to it. They got plenty of great right-handed guitars, and it's depends on how hard I twist Rick's arm. Can you use toothpaste to final polish frets? You know what? I've never heard that before, mate. But if that's what people are telling you, then maybe there's a thing to it. But I wouldn't do that. Mark Anthony Chester, thank you, mate. He says, hey Shane, thanks for a great channel, huge respect, have a brew on me. Question, have you ever fallen out of love with a guitar? My latest guitar isn't vibing with me. I have, mate. It's happened to me a lot of times over the years. It's happened less the more that I know about what I enjoy. So that's for me is kind of the thing. The biggest thing that I went off completely was 335 style guitars. I went off the tone. I went off the feel of how they feel on. I just can't get into them like I used to. So I don't own a 335 anymore, even my Tokai or anything. It's just something that I can appreciate because they're nice, but it does nothing for me. So yeah, that would be the guitar that I've just, yeah, when I sold it, I haven't missed it at all. So yeah, that would be the one that I kind of feel like would be the guitar I most loved when I first started playing and now don't play at all. And it could just be down to me not being able to pull the sound out of it that I like or being comfortable enough to play it. But yeah, that'll happen, man. Sometimes when you buy stuff, it's sort of, you'll either, you get, it's, yeah, I know what this is like through other stuff that I buy as well. Sometimes you buy something with high expectations and you realize, oh no, what have I done? And sometimes you don't get enough time to work that out when you're at the shop if you go in and try it, or especially if you're buying online. This is why I always say to people, if you can go play it, do it, because there's nothing worse than ordering something and having it perform completely different to your expectations or be very underwhelming. Yeah, and the more you play, the more you can usually get great sounds out of anything, or you can feel comfortable playing a lot of different guitars. But yeah, for me, the 335 would be the guitar that, yeah, I just can't get into anymore. But thank you, mate. Hey, Dr. Rick's still awake. Welcome back, mate. We got Thanos here. Best small tube amp to play at home, AC10 maybe, or Blues Junior. See, both of those are really loud. They're great little amps, but to get them to where they really rip, they're really loud. So anyone who tells you an AC10's a good practice amp, look, you can get good tones at lower volumes out of them, but like any valve amp, you got to really crank them to get the sound that you probably want out of them, and that is way louder than it may seem. And Blues Juniors are plenty loud as well. They've got a lot of oomph. So see if you can find a 5-watt tube amp of some description. I think that's more than enough. Some people will argue that 1 watt is enough when you're talking about valve amps. But AC10 is a really good amp because you can get good sounds out of it at home. It won't sound as big or as dynamic as when it's turned up. But yeah, they're loud enough to jam with as well. So AC4s are pretty good if we're talking about Vox. But I always sort of suggest you don't need to buy a valve amp if you're practicing. Get something like a Marshall MG30X or whatever those amps are called, or any number of different solid state amps will give you great tones at home. Having a valve amp at home is cool, but again, you've got to turn them up to get that big sound out of them. What guitar do you want badly that isn't made in the Lefty? You know what? Nothing. I'm pretty happy right now. I waited 15 years to play an Epiphone Casino, and it was not very good. So, yeah, at least not for what I like. It was a bit of a disappointment. It was beautiful visually, but there's a lot of things about it I didn't like, and that was the guitar I was kind of waiting to play for a long time. As of right now, there's nothing that I'm really like, oh man, I'd love to get that in a Lefty. I feel like I'm pretty much done, which is a weird place to be, but I'm sure something will pop up in a week's time. Who knows? Mark Anthony, thank you again, mate. I appreciate the super chat there. Let me just scroll down. I'm going to wrap this up in a couple of minutes. I appreciate everybody hanging out. We've been going for 1 hour and 28 minutes. We started on time tonight as well. What's going on? Cole asks, hey Shane, I can't get much brightness out of the bridge pickup of my Les Paul. Any tips? Yeah, I mean, look, you can try re-EQing the amp completely. Make sure you've got all the tone controls wound off so that they're not reducing your high end, but you can also try adjusting the height of the bridge pickup. Look, the amp is the biggest equation a lot of the time for tone. It's hands, but it's also the amplifier. So if I play one guitar in one amp and then take it into another one, you may get drastically different results, right? So turn the bass down. Turn the bass down further than you think. A good tip, can't remember who told me. It was either Rick or Brian told me this years ago. Turn everything off tone control wise, right? So if your amp's got bass, middle, and treble, turn the bass all the way down and turn it on until you can just hear it kick in, and do the same with all of them. And then start adjusting the treble frequencies. It's probably nothing that treble or presence can't fix if the amp has that. You don't need to usually invest in an EQ pedal if you've got a decent amp. Look, sometimes there's duds, right, when it comes to pickups or whatever, but Gibson make pretty good pickups on the most part. For a John Mayer fan who can't afford a 2-Rock, should I just get a Fender Blues Junior and save up for a Princeton Reverb? Or just bite the bullet and get a Seriatone? Don't buy a Seriatone, man. Don't do it. You'll regret it. Nearly everyone that I know who's bought a Seriatone pack or kit or had one made for them and shipped it out ended up selling it within about a year. So there's a couple of exceptions to that. I know a couple of guys that have held on to them that don't use them whatsoever. Don't do that. John Mayer doesn't even use those amps anymore. So just find the sound that works for you, man. Don't try going down that rabbit hole of cloning someone's tone. It won't work. It's way more complex than what amp someone is using to get that sound. It's the finesse thing. You get Knopfler on any amp or get John Mayer on any amp, it's just still going to sound like him, right? There's great videos of him playing a Fender Deluxe Reverb 68 reissue amp, Mayer. It's great. It sounds like him. The amp doesn't make that big of a difference when it comes to recognizing his tone and playing, as long as the amp is good. I always say, like, there's that law of diminishing returns thing as well, where you could buy like a great Fender amp or then go into the boutique area and get that 5% better tone at 90% more cost. So you got to weigh that up as well. I know Dr. Rick will hate hearing that, but it's true. So yeah, look, up to you how you want to do that, but that's my thoughts on it. Steve from Boston just talking about aquarium dudes showing up at his house. No worries, man. Sounds like a gang of sea monkeys. Man, what's going on in the chat over here? This is crazy. Excuse me, far out. Got the heater on in here tonight. I think it's making me tired. It's freezing cold. Not Canada cold, but Melbourne cold. Robert says, I really like the pickups in my SG. Can't remember what their name is, but they're the stock ones. They might be Burstbuckers. I think they could be, because the Burstbuckers in my Flying V are some of the best humbuckers I've owned. They're just awesome. Real voicey and, yeah, super cool. If you ever consider an aquarium, I suggest you just dig a well and throw your money down there. Same result. Nice. Oh, man, that's crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of maintenance costs with that sort of stuff, right? Is it just that, or is it like putting it together that's the expensive part? John Mayer also uses, the chat moved, the Bricasti Reverb, and those are about 4,000, I believe. I mean, dude's millionaire times 100, so yeah. I remember there was a tour of his studio that he owns, and it was literally all the stuff he got sent that he's never used, and there were tables full of gear. Like, it was crazy. It was worse than any YouTubers thing. He had piles and piles of effects and all this stuff, and it's like, man, I mean, he's musicality-wise, he's fantastic. So he's just got way too much stuff that he needs. And, you know, now he's playing PRS amps, which I don't even think, for the ones that he plays, sound better than his 2-Rocks. I actually think that's kind of like the opposite. But it's all subjective. Some people will like one tone over the other or whatever. But, yeah, it's an interesting sort of... Yeah, like, it's like if you listen to Clapton, you'll hear tones you really love, and then there'll be tones you can't stand. It's like that with most of these guys, except for Knopfler. All these tones are good. Jerry says, thanks for doing these, taking the time and effort to do them. Thanks, mate. Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate that. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Yeah, we went for just over an hour, so I'll try and... Oh, it was an hour and a half, I guess. I'll try and timestamp some of this before I go to bed, if you missed the start. I'm not going to do it all tonight, but I watch it on 2 times playback and I start punching out the timestamps. But appreciate everybody hanging out. Thanks to everybody for the super chats and for all the comments and questions and everything else. And I hope I didn't miss any questions here, but if I did, I don't do it on purpose. It literally doesn't always show me everything either. So yeah, and then the chat just moves 3 pages and I got to find where I am. Thanos says, any opinion on the new Gibson T style pickups? Is it worth it to upgrade them? You know what? Rabbit hole, mate. Any pickup question is, I can't give you a good answer on that. I just know what I've tried and what I like, and I don't know what Gibson's Tele style pickups are like whatsoever. So I don't know anything about them, to be honest. Steve says, I could have purchased a brand new Gibson Les Paul Custom with what I spent on the tank and have money left over for a Katana Artist. Well, there you go, mate. Sell the fish tank and get a Gibson Les Paul Custom. Done. Easy solution. Buy the John Mayer Paul Reed Smith amp at Sky will make you sound like him. Yeah, I bet. $13,000 for an amp. Seems like a reasonable deal, you know, 13 grand. Just pay cash, you know, one of those kind of deals. Not. But yeah, it's all in the hands, man. You get any of these guys on any amp and they're going to sound good. They're pros. That's what they do. All right, guys, take care. Thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody hanging out. And just as we are about to leave here, Peter Gregg's joined the chat. Thanks, mate. I appreciate the kind words, and I will see you on your stream, Peter Gregg, later on this week. But yeah, everybody, thank you again. Thanks for hanging out. And just so you know, Peter Gregg was the guy that inspired this camera setup here with you know, the good quality. His live streams are the best. Let's lock this off. So I did the multicam tonight, mate. All right, guys, take care. Thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.